All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Athletic Aesthetic Podcast. My name is Vinny. I'm your host, and today I have a special guest I'm excited to share with you guys. He's in the NFL for 8 seasons, 61 starts, member of the Pitt Panthers' Backyard Brawl infamous victory over WVU 13-9 in 2007, the one and only Mike McGlynn. What's up, Mike? How are you?
How you doing, Vinny? Thanks for having me on, man.
The first question that I want to throw at you is regarding the Backyard Brawl, and I think it's a great jumping off point for the conversation with it being Brawl Week. What is the Backyard Brawl, and what does it mean to not only University of Pittsburgh, but college football?
Well, I think it's just two hard blue-collar cities or blue-collar, programs just rolling their sleeves up and going and going into a brawl. That's how it always felt when we played West Virginia. So even the energy, I was the honorary captain last year for the brawl. The energy in the stadiums, the energy between the two programs. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of, hate. That's the best way to put it. So yeah, definitely one of the great rivalries in sports.
Do you think it's like when you look back on your career, obviously several different NFL stops along the way, University of Pittsburgh, coming from Ohio, which is a very competitive state to come and play. You're not like football is competitive at the high school level in Ohio, with the rivalries and things like that. Like you guys come up in the ranks together, play high school ball together. So you have a history even at the high school level. And then would you say the brawl would it be different going into it? Like the energy, the way you would mentally prep for it, or was it just another week for you?
Oh, it was definitely a heightened, different energy. Unlike any rivalry I've ever played in. When you play in the NFL, I was in Philly. Philly and Dallas was obviously a huge rivalry, right? So those games, those opponents, when you're preparing, yeah, it feels different. It feels like a heightened of importance for whatever reason. That's just what these type of games bring. So West Virginia for me is the number one rivalry game that I've ever played in.
So you had 31 consecutive starts at one point in your Pitt career. Like what was like a regimen for you? What's life look like as a student athlete at Pitt?
Well, for me, to be honest with you, life for me was strictly football. So even in college, we had, college classes and all that, but it was always football was the main thing for me. It was always my focus. So making sure, number one, having the longevity means you have to be able to take care of your body. Cold plunging, saunas, hot tub, making sure that all those things, nutrition and that. But film preparation, making sure you know who your opponent, what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, how you're going to combat them. And so, yeah, a lot of work goes into it. And that really, starting 4 years at Pitt and then going into an NFL career, those habits and that structure and those game plans and how you prepare, right, just set you up for success on game days.
No doubt, man. I also heard from a little birdie that you might have had a summer job at some point at Kennywood. Is that true?
Yeah, it was funny. It was one of those years we did, like you said, no NIL, so I didn't have no money in my pocket. So I lived over there in the Munhall area, and Kennywood was a half a mile from where I lived. So
Love.
where you
Hiring at Kennywood, man. You running the rides? Were you a ride guy? You game guy?
I was one of the hustlers. I was one of the basketball shootout hustlers. I came up with all kinds of trick shots and stuff, banking it off the nets and stuff, and all kinds of crazy stuff, hustling people, actually.
Yeah, bro. I love it, man. They used to have this game outside of like Kittyland. For those that aren't familiar, Kennywood's an amusement park in the Pittsburgh area. What's the best ride at Kennywood?
No idea. I could.
You're not a roller coaster guy?
Roller coaster freaked me out.
For real? Oh,
it actually, the only time I've really ridden roller coasters was this summer. About a month ago, I was in Dollywood in Tennessee and rode all those. But growing up, I had a little bit of fear of heights, so roller coasters never really my thing.
Yeah, I can respect that. I didn't get into roller coasters until maybe like high school. I was afraid growing up too. That's why I think maybe I like by default went to the basketball games because I was like, no, this is cool. I just like basketball, All my friends are riding roller coasters. I was too afraid. But speaking of Dollywood, I think just bought Kennywood, so that's a cool connection there. Ed Conway Award. Tell me about that. That's an award for the most improved player.
Yeah, Yeah, no, no. Yeah, very prestigious. What's that?
You won that twice?
Very prestigious award, right? It goes to somebody that's most improved through spring football. So yeah, I won it. I think it was going into my freshman year with Coach Harris, and that when Coach Wanstead came in, I won it that next year too. Yeah, so I mean, it was just a simple award of great and people that come up and just bring a lunch pail and work their tails off to get better. And, when you put that hard work and that mindset in, you're going to get rewarded and you're going to get, recognized. So something I just took pride in general, just having that mindset of every day is an opportunity to sharpen your sword.
Yeah. Where do you think you got that mindset from?
Oh, it was definitely my upbringing, my family. Come from Youngstown, Ohio, blue collar area. Come from a family of truck drivers and blue collar people. So that work ethic and mindset definitely was passed down generation to me.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I come from a blue collar family myself, so I think it's one of those things where you can't learn those skills unless you live it. Definitely can see that there and how that translates well into sports. Do you like try to, in the world we live in today with social media, and I know you're into coaching now and you're after your playing career ended, got into coaching. Do you try to instill that mindset into some of the kids that maybe they don't see that hard grittiness in their day-to-day life because the glitz and glam of social media?
Well, here's my thing: is the reality is the glitz and glam and how we're, I can only put it down generally to my kids, you know, that's my concern is how my kids are raised and their mindset. And so, yes, absolutely. Between my daughter and my son, my daughter Sydney and my son Cole, I wear on them. But at the end of the day, those are those habits, those work ethics, work habits, is what makes you successful.
Are you a Pittsburgh realtor? Listen up. This episode is brought to you by the Pillar to Post Ruggieri team. Their inspections are helping Pittsburgh realtors get to close quicker, with common sense insights backed by industry-leading tools and technology. With multiple inspectors and a full-time scheduler, they're ready right now to handle all of your inspection needs. So you've been waiting around? No more. Call or text 412-292-0293, or you can book online at mattrteam.pillartopost.com. Or if you're on social media, you can connect with Matt today on Instagram at Mr_Inspector PGH. So you get drafted by the Eagles in '08. Let me just throw it out there. What was that like? What was that experience like getting drafted?
Well, getting drafted was awesome. I mean, it's a dream come true, but it was a point to where, okay, now the work only starts. So it was a great accomplishment. It's a great opportunity that opens the door for you. And but it's just the start of what you have to do to make it in that profession. So, yeah, very memorable day. Very gratifying.
Did you have anybody in your close circle that ever experienced anything like that, getting drafted? I mean, obviously, I know college football, you're around guys that are getting drafted. You've seen it from friends, but in your family, in your tight circle from your hometown, like, did you have anybody that set the pace for that, or were you kind of a pioneer?
No, where I was from, we had from my high school an NFL kicker by the name of Jeff Wilkins, who's a Super Bowl champ, played for the 49ers, the St. Louis Rams. He's on that Greatest Show on Turf team that won a Super Bowl. But yeah. As far as I was really the first guy to get drafted and go play in the NFL from my hometown, from my school. So, a little bit of a pioneer when it comes to that.
Yeah. How tough is that, man? I mean, like, when you're coming from a small town and you get, you're obviously Pitt's a big stage, but it's not the NFL, and so you get thrown into those rooms, you're meeting different kind of people, you're thrown into the business of the game. And what was that adjustment like coming from a small town?
Well, the good thing is I had people around me that were able to mentor me, to prepare me and help me. So, I had good people around me. So it was just a step-by-step process. You don't get overwhelmed by it. You keep the main thing the main thing. And, at the end of the day, it's going and playing football. So So getting in that structure, that's scheduled, to where it's day by day, we're putting in effort and we're moving forward and working on our craft. So yeah, it was just you just approach everything with that type of mindset. You're gonna go, we're gonna work and take it day by day.
What would you say to like maybe a high school athlete or a kid coming up in the game right now and maybe that need to find some good mentors and they're like, what should they be looking for?
Well, I think, you know, and it's hard because there's you got to make sure that people are in it for the genuineness of who they are, their genuine character, who they are. With when people have big goals and obviously there's people that want to kind of grab on your coattail and surround yourself with good people that are going to keep you out of good bad situations that aren't going to put they're going to respect your wants in life and what you want to achieve and your goals and like-minded people. You surround yourself with like-minded people that are hardworking and that uplift you. That would be my biggest recommendation: is surround yourself with the people that are like-minded, that are goal-oriented, and they're hardworking, and that uplift you and encourage you towards your goals.
All right, quick break in the action. I'm speaking to all the athletes here. If you're looking for a place to really elevate your game, you got to check out the team at Elite Athletics Training and Development. They're located right here in Pittsburgh in Beaver Falls, and they have a 22,000 square foot indoor turf facility where athletes of all ages can train, compete, and get the coaching they need to hit that next level. They got sports academies, leagues, and programs built to help you sharpen your skills. And this year, they're taking things even further, teaming up with Football University to launch a national level youth football program. That means real exposure, real competition, and a trip down to Naples, Florida to showcase your game. Elite Athletics, where champions are made. Click the link in the description for more information. Let's get it. So you being like we said earlier, the Ed Conway Award winner, like you had to be a sponge in order to improve like that and in order to grow. I mean, to get that award twice, think about what that means where you started. You know what I mean? Like, you not only grew so much one year that they recognized it, but then a lot of people, they find complacency in that. And then you kept growing. And for them to recognize that twice, man, that's kudos to you. I know that's you putting in a lot of work, a lot of like mental work, a lot of, physical work, take care of your body. So you're not only, 31 starts winning that award. It's a lot, man. So congratulations to a great career. And that's just in college.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Hey, and you just did on something, it's humbleness, right? Humbleness is a big trait to have in life, right? Not acting like you know everything, not being too smug or not being shut off to information. And I think when we talk about my career at Pitt, being a 4-year starter and that, at the end of the day, there was always a goal, right? First off, it was a year by year goal, whether it's be all ACT or start as a freshman. Those were all goals that I laid out towards the ultimate goal at the end of those 5 years was to get drafted to the NFL. So I think for young kids, as we build on that too, it's writing down their goals, being goal oriented, and having a plan on how you're going to walk forward to accomplish.
Yeah. Well, man, we're here, so I feel like we should just dive right into it. 13-9, Backyard Brawl, 2007. Set the stage for me. What's your career looking like at the time? You're coming into this game. You guys are at 4-7. You have an opportunity to upset your arch enemy and ruin their shot at history. At this point, I think they only had one national title appearance, and they lost that game. So this is like, this is a huge deal for the state of West Virginia. And you guys go in there and get to play the spoiler and upset that season. So just what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of that game?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is 4-7, right? And why I bring that up first, it's the mindset going into that game. We had a very, down season, to say the least. We fumbled games that we should have won very easily. We were so talented on the offensive side of football, the defensive side of football, and just didn't. Sometimes that's just how the ball bounces, right? So we find ourselves in a 4-7 record going into our big rivalry, who's ranked number 2 in the country, and we're like 4 touchdown underdogs, I think it was, right? And, um, we go through our week of preparation. We listen to that John Denver Country Roads every day of practice like we do every year. Right? It's on repeat.
Did it ever grow on you? Do you hear it in today's world and do you still like get disgusted or do you it's a good song, man. Like what
Yeah, I never. Yeah, if Country Roads comes on, the only time I listen to it is after Pitt beats West Virginia. And the reason why is this is after that 13-9 game, where we win and we're celebrating, all me and a bunch of my good buddies, we spin that hillbilly song for them and had a great celebration with it. So that's the only time I'll play John Denver Country Roads is when Pitt beats West Virginia. So
yeah.
but going into that week, man, we were motivated. We were senior class, we were pretty upset with how our senior season went, and the day before the game, we have players only meeting, and most majority of the players asked me to speak, and I broke it down and just said, "Hey, listen, this rivalry means a lot. They're number 2 in the country. We're 28-point underdogs." I said, "Nobody will ever remember 4-7 or 4-8. They'll remember Pitt knocking West Virginia out of the national championship."
I don't know if you can see the goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
I know those moments, those pregame, night before team meeting. I know that feeling well. And, when you have somebody who's been through, like, especially you, man, like you got that, you come into that, right, with the journey that you've had at Pitt. People have been watching you bust your ass. So when you stand up and say something, the room listens, so that's incredible to hear that you're talking to the team like that the night before, setting the stage for, hey, listen, like if we don't do something here, like what kind of legacy are we leaving? So yeah, please continue. I had to jump in there because I had goosebumps, man. Still got
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, and at that night when I'm giving that speech and I'm talking to the team, it was everybody was locked in, right? So we're all looking at each other in the eyes. There was a sense of belief, right? That we can go and there was no like, oh yeah, come on, like stop bullshitting here, right?
yeah.
It was a real sense of belief and it was a real buy-in. And it was we went into that game, pre-game, we had the mindset as we're here to fight. And we almost got in a pre-game brawl, We were out there, talking shit at the 50-yard line and ready to go. So
Yeah.
So that week leading up to that was a mindset of let's go ruin these guys this season. And, to be honest with you, if West Virginia goes into that national championship game that year, I believe they would play Ohio State. And that firepower and that offense from West Virginia with the Pat White, Steve Slade, Owen Smith, Noah Devine, that run game that they had matched up really well. And that high-scoring offense they had matched up really well against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Just knowing those two programs. But yeah, man. So it was a group that just came together, right? And it was great.
That's awesome, man. Take me into the approaching the game. You guys getting bussed in there. Like, what was that experience like? Like when you'd go in.
Oh, it was good. Going to play at Morgantown's always great. You go in there and they surround your bus. They start throwing batteries. They start throwing whatever at you. You walk into the stadium. You feel that energy. You feel that us against the world mindset.
Yeah.
And feeling. So,
do you think that for you too? Like, you think it's almost like, to me, it makes me lock in more. Like it's not an advantage for the home team to have your fan base literally tormenting the guests because now you're pissing them off. Like.
Well, I mean, it's either one or two things. Either you're gonna get pissed off, or you're gonna cower.
I guess not everybody responds that way. Yeah.
Right. So it definitely lit a fire. But we've been in those big games before, right? So we knew the environment. We knew what we were walking into, And there's nothing like that platform. There's nothing like that stage.
Yeah.
That adrenaline, that energy that comes from playing in front of that type of environment. It was pretty cool.
You think you? I think was talking to the guys on the last episode. They were talking about they believed going into the game, but they really thought this might be a thing at the end of the third quarter when the whole team sprinted from the one side of the field to the other. I think the defense was on the field at that time, but being someone on the sideline, watching that momentum and that energy you're carrying into the fourth quarter, like what was that feeling like on the sideline?
Well, first off, it just gives you a mindset of who we are, right? As a program, as a team. That was actually us mocking West Virginia.
Oh, right.
West Virginia at the end of every third quarter, their team starts on one side of the field and sprints to the other side, to give the psychological statement of we're going to win the fourth quarter. We're ready, right?
Yeah.
So we beat them to the punch there. And,
Dude.
And
that took the heart out of him. You know it, dude. That had
at the end of the day, you can't say what it took out of them. It was probably like, oh shit, these fuckers are still here. They're still here right now. We didn't expect this, right?
Yeah, and then they're looking at the sideline and they see their leader on the sideline, his hands taped up. Like that had to be a really demoralizing start to a fourth quarter. And then you guys are, the defense is playing lights out, offense is grinding it out every time you needed a big conversion to extend a drive. You got O'Derrick making great catches, you got Shady making these crazy runs that are just, you guys, that was such a gritty win. You're down to your third string freshman quarterback. All the chips are stacked against you guys. So to come out of that game, and obviously not even just that, you have the missed field goals from Pat. He's been on his show recently, I think in the past couple of years, talking about how he didn't want to be alive after that game. And you talk about the effect of sports and what something like that can do on one side versus the other. You have the extreme lows versus you guys experiencing the extreme highs of that. So you're leaving that game. What's that feeling like on the bus? This is probably your last game playing with a lot of these guys. I don't think there's no bowl game that year, right? So that was the last game of the year?
Yeah, that was the last game of the year. So, and just to build on Pat McAfee, who's a friend of mine. We played together in Indianapolis, teammates in Indianapolis, and you throw those jokes around about 13-9. Yeah, that was a very serious thing for him, life events for him, because at the end of the day, he was getting death threats from the fan base and that, and obviously for a young 21 to 22-year-old kid, a traumatic experience to go through that.
Yeah.
And have those things come off. So at the end of the day, sport is sport, right? And there's ups and downs and there's adversities, and that's what makes the game of football so great. Teaches you so much about life. But yeah, that was unfortunate with Pat, because obviously on our side, we go and we win and we're celebrating. But the other side, when things like that happen, you realize, okay, well, after the fact, you have given grace and sympathy, because when you hear stuff about, I've been in those situations where you hear stuff like that, death threats and that, it's ignorance.
Yeah.
Like going back to the after we go and we take the punt and you run around and through the back of the end zone to make the score 13-9. Just remember the celebration, us storming the field, right? The team, and Wanstead on crutches trying to hobble around. That was pretty funny.
It was funny. It started the game with a jacket on and crutches on the sideline, and by the end, the crutches were nowhere in sight. The jacket's off. He was walking up and down the it's just the full he was immersed in the game, man.
Yeah. So we had that moment. We're all celebrating. We get back into the locker room, and probably the best part about that is we're pretty fired up and we're celebrating and we're singing the Pitt fight song, and their media center is right next to that locker room, so they could hear us celebrating in Rich Rod's post game press conference.
Yeah.
So that was great too. And
I watched that press conference before the episode we did, and you could 100% just hear you guys crazy.
yeah. And then how about Rich Rodriguez, right? He comes back, and then the the head coach is going to save the day for the Mountaineers and whatever now, but with that hard edge mindset. But he then goes, what happens if he goes to the national championship, right, and wins it? Yeah, he's not going to Michigan, unless he's fool. I think one of his big things, Rich Rodriguez should have been the West Virginia head coach for the last 20 years, right? Because listen, that guy, growing up in Youngstown, Ohio, being the same amount of time from West Virginia and Pitt, right? That culture that he built there is not easy to go to another place and implement what you learned. But yeah, so there was a lot of there's a lot of dominoes that fell after that game, and
it definitely shaped the future of both programs for a little period of time there. I mean, WVU's still rebuilding it, and Pitt's had ups and downs. What are you looking forward to about this year's game?
Well, I think just to get an understanding, going into Game 3 of where we're at as a program, we had a pretty big comeback win last year with Eli Holstein throwing a big ball to
crazy game
to Deion Reynolds down there into the end zone, which flipped the momentum. And all of a sudden, we're down there on the one to punch it in the football game, and just to an early test for us against the rival that we'll see where we're at. I think our quarterback is a year more mature, under his belt in the second year of a system. I think we should see a lot of growth and improvement there in our signal caller. But us rolling our sleeves up and going in there and brawling it out. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I was talking to someone recently just about, you think about Kenny Pickett and his great career at Pitt, and you look at where Eli is in his career and the trajectory he's on. Like, it's really exciting, to see like what this season could be. I mean, starting out 7-0 last year, and, a ton of injuries on the offensive line, ton of injuries, and things come up during the season that it's football. But I'm excited to see how they respond to that this year, for sure. Are you going to be at any of the games?
Yeah, I'm always a late traveler, so I make decisions a day or two before. So, I'll see a pretty good possibility I'll be up in Morgantown for the game. So I might usually make about 3 or 4 games a year.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your time in Philly. Was that the first time you ever played center, or were you a center in college for a couple games too?
No, when I was in Philadelphia, in the NFL, a lot of people don't know this. On game days, you only travel 7 offensive linemen on game day to dress. So to be able to get on the game day roster, to make sure you got to have flexibility early in my career, you got to make sure that you're valuable and can play multiple positions. So I knew going into my rookie season that I had to go, because I played right tackle for 4 years at Pitt, and I was projected to play guard in the NFL, that I had to go, I had to be able to play right guard, left guard, and center. So going in my 3rd year is my first time ever playing center in a football game, besides preseason. So it was good, man. I always felt really good at playing that position. I felt my most confident playing at center.
Oh, wow.
But at the end of the day, I had to get in where I fit in. So if there's opportunity to go to a team like Indianapolis and start a right guard, or go to Kansas City and start a left guard, or start at center when Jamal Jackson gets injured in my 3rd year in Philadelphia, and where my career really jumped into my starts in the league in that. And being versatile and being able to go play all positions on the offensive line was important and critical for me to be successful in my NFL career.
No doubt, man. Do you think your long snapping experience gave you a little bit of confidence stepping into the center role?
Well, yeah, short snapping and long snapping kind of different than just shotgun snapping, right? But yeah, I had that unique experience too as a freshman, being our short snapper on field goals, and probably my most memorable moment there was the Tyler Palco. I'm so fucking proud of my guys game,
Yeah.
uh, where I snapped some game-winning field goals in that game, and I think Palco threw for 5 touchdowns in that game, which is the most by an opponent in Notre Dame history. And I don't know if that record still stands or not, but yeah, that versatility was critical in my career to my success.
Yeah. I also read that you had one catch, 1 yard.
Yeah, how about that? I've been the stat line forever. Yeah, so actually that first game that I got in, where one of my teammates, Jamal Jackson, got injured, I stepped in, and it's like 2 or 3 drives into the game, and I'm just getting my ski legs under me, right? Because up to this point, I've only played in the preseason, and there's a big difference in the speed of competition in preseason and regular season, and then into the playoffs, round by round. It escalates. So I'm just getting my ski legs under me, and there was a play where ball gets batted up in the air, and all you hear is the thump of the ball getting batted, and I look up and try to find it, and I'm like, oh shit! I caught it and kind of cradled it as I caught it and fell forward for a yard or two. So that was like a, you know, what the hell's going on type of moment. Like what the hell is going on right now? But there was definitely something that I tell my son about. And I got the picture. There's a picture of me catching that ball too that I got framed in my house as well. So
Dude, I need that picture. I need
yeah,
you send me a picture of that when we get off here. I got to see it. Uh,
absolutely.
I had to bring it up. I was joking with Coach Walt Harris on the podcast. I said I played college ball myself. I've one catch in my career because I had a ton of injuries, concussions, you name it. It kept me off the field, and then I had a lot of adversity. I took a year off. I came back to prove myself that I could do it my senior year. I get in. I was in a lot of like late garbage time, and I got in at the end of like one of these games where they called like this run pass option. I looked at the QB and I'm like, "You're throwing me the ball. Like I'm getting in the end zone here. You're throwing me the ball." So I have one catch, uh, one target, one catch, and one touchdown in my entire college career. So you and I share a stat line there of one in our career.
Yeah, yeah. Another critical point as you bring up Walt Harris, little more a tidbit of my career. I owe a lot to Walt Harris for giving me the opportunity to come to Pitt to play for Pitt. My high school career wasn't normal. I started 10 games as a junior or as a sophomore at Austintown Fitch. My junior season, I was messing around in class, not taking care of my responsibilities, and ended up ineligible for my entire junior year, and then still highly recruited, get about 25 to 35 offers just off my sophomore film, and then doing the whole camp series stuff. And my senior year, I had some interest from some other schools, but my senior year, I broke my leg my third game into my season. So I only played 13 high school football games. And I always have respect for Coach Harris and Coach Junko, who was the key recruiter to get me to go to Pitt, because they stuck with me and they honored my scholarship. When, to be quite honest with you, a lot of schools would pull away. So, I got a lot of respect for Coach Junko and Coach Walt Harris, and also Coach Tom Freeman, and them bringing me to Pitt.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. I mean, you don't see that a lot in today's world is people standing by what they say they're going to do, and it's cool to hear you say that because that was something that Walt said he was very proud about. Is that when he came into Pitt, that's what he was trying to do. Was if he said he was going to do something, he was going to do it, and so that's really cool to hear you share that. I appreciate you sharing that story.
Absolutely, yeah. Because Walt was one of those guys in the business, a dirty business where word by a lot of people don't mean shit.
Yeah.
Walt Harris' word meant something. That's why I always respect him.
Man, I think that's incredible, man. I think that's a great place to wrap up today. I appreciate your time and for coming on. Is there anything that you want to say or going into the brawl? Is there anything that we missed here today?
Oh, Vinny, man, I just appreciate you having me on. Very excited about the Backyard Brawl. Um, and as always, beat West Virginia.
Let's go, baby. And then we can listen to Country Roads. I think.
Yeah, man. Hell to Pitt, my friend.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, always good, and thank you.